Welcome, everyone.
I'm 5 minutes late to everything.
That's okay. If we started on time, there wouldn't be anybody here. This is good. Thank you all for coming out. Such a gorgeous evening. Also had a number of these of late. My favorite time of year, I think. We've got the agenda. We've got minutes to approve. I think everybody's had a chance to read those. Any comments? I think we had a couple of comments. Steve, did you say you had something?
Yeah, well, I don't know how important they are, but seems like useful to me, so I thought I'd mention. In two places, I wonder if we've said exactly what we mean. So,
Seeking clarity here.
we've got a paragraph on page 2, the first paragraph titled CPC funding and discussions. And the last sentence says, such a treatment was not possible given the structure of the bid process.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder if it wouldn't be clearer if we said, given the delays inherent in the bid process.
No.
Because the structure doesn't say what about the structure. The problem was the delay, wasn't it?
So, that was addressed in the previous section,
Right,
no, up above that,
right.
where we're talking about the herbicide treatments. And because the, process for, the bidding took a month, we were not able to use the FY25, water department funding for Beckwell Pond and Forge Pond. So that was the delay, but then we were approved by CPC to use some of their eco harvesting funding for herbicide treatment for this year.
For Forge Pond.
For Forge Pond, right. And because of the way the bid was structured, it was a single quote bid for each lake. And the quote was for $160,000 for Forge Pond. And the request was to do a $20,000 treatment, which was one of the recommendations, one of the actions identified by Solitude for Forge Pond.
Right.
But because it wasn't $160,000, it wasn't the whole bid for Forge Pond. The decision was that we couldn't do the treatment. If the bid had been structured, well, by the pieces that are needed, you know, do the plant survey, and then based on that, decide what treatments are needed, and then per chemical possible herbicide and per acre, this would be the unit price for doing those, depending on what was determined from the plant survey. That would have been consistent with what we were asking, but the bid structure was different in that, and so it was decided by the water department and town administrator that we couldn't do the treatment, even though we had CPC approval to use the funding.
The bid was inflexible, essentially.
Yeah. Okay.
We didn't have enough money to do the entire lake, nor did we want to.
Would changing that to the structured requirements of the bid process be clearer to you?
No, I see Dave's point. I think it's fine.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I have to assert the data and details that he just went through, more thoroughly explained it, that would be page 4 in the minutes.
Yeah.
It's already done 3 pages, damn it.
No, that's all of that.
So the second comment I had was in the paragraph on page, also on page 2. Mass DEP minor dredging permit application in the very last sentence of the second paragraph. Funding for the project will now be added for Littleton Water Department FY 2027. And do we know that Littleton Water Department will add the funding? Or are we saying we'll add it to the CLT request to the Littleton Water Department?
It was indicated that, it would be part of the 2027 funding.
Nick Lawler.
It says it like
that
it's a
he-
certainty.
Yeah, Nick Lawler said that we're gonna pump that to 2027,
Okay,
and.
I love it. Okay, great.
So he seemed to be quite,
Is that the budgeting, is 2027 what we're starting to budget in October?
Yes,
well,
Yeah,
yes,
okay.
yes, yes.
Fiscal year 27, okay.
Fiscal year.
it would fund activities that start next July
Got it, okay, right.
and would end.
You always have to like line up what your year, no, what you.
No, it's gonna be pretty exciting wandering through
All right, okay.
the minutia here tonight, so. So does that,
That looks good otherwise, yep.
okay, so no changes?
Right.
Okay, motion to accept.
Second. The motion.
Any further discussion? Those in favor, say aye.
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 Very good, thank you. I think it's unanimous.
Hey, Mark.
Hey.
Thanks for coming.
Mark, good to see you.
Late.
That's all right. We always
late
start
by
late.
HR.
We're stumbling through, accepting last month's minutes, and, we're just moving on to news items. I've got a few things to catch us up from our last meeting. We've had a month off, even though our last meeting was on July 23rd. Seems like it was, I don't know, maybe 3 months ago.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just the quality of summer. We've gone from hot and humid to really, really very delightful weather, and it seems like another world. So since then, been a couple of things that have happened. Mark Rombacher and Karen Warson reached out to me middle of August, and we got together to talk about CLC and how things are going. And after I ran through a blow by blow, they said, well, yeah, but we really want to talk about some other stuff. The essential message was that they want to try to, the select board would like to try to make things a little easier on us. And to streamline the whole process of us requesting funds and securing things. And I think, Mark, if I'm not putting words in your mouth, we haven't got a directive yet. We haven't got a straightforward, here's what we're going to do to make these changes. But they're contemplating changes for a number of committees and CLC since we've been struggling, and it's been noticeable. I guess we're on the radar. They'd like us to do what we do best, and then sort of make requests for funding through maybe a select board, of course, still through our other sources, water department. We've got Parks and Rec. We've got Friends of Forge Pond. Quite a number of allies at this point and sources of funding. But Mark, do you want to say something about this at this point?
Sure. So there's a couple of things. One, we'd like to centralize the budget. So there's one number and then we'll figure out how it gets funded, whether it's from CPC or water or anything. And so we can the select board and the town can work on the funding sources as opposed to you guys having to go to
Who do we
5 or
go
6
to? What do
different
we do?
boards.
What do we do?
And then
Yeah.
teams help us, right?
Yeah. With our placard, with our cardboard sign.
We'll come up with a number and then we will do the legwork to figure out where it comes from.
Great.
And the other part is we like you guys get out of the RFP business and we'll take it over more in the permitting and everything else because we have staff that do that full time, right? And it would be simpler for you guys rather than learning how procurement works and permitting with the state, we'll let the professionals handle it, for lack of a better.
Amen.
And you're talking about, conservation, water
Department, conservation department,
the permitting and contracting.
yes, yeah.
And well, bigger than contracting, procurement.
Yeah.
Which is solicitations along with the contracting.
Yeah. Yeah, they will manage the process from start to finish, right?
Wonderful. I love it.
So,
And we advocate for our concerns on oil,
Mhm.
which is really, one of the things we do best.
So for example, I mean, you were managing like with TRC, that proposal process, right?
Yes,
So would that be taken off of his
Yeah.
plate? Yeah,
yes,
great,
Nick has taken that over already.
great.
Yes.
so.
There was some question for a couple of months about, whether I had to do that, but yeah, Nick raised his hand.
Yeah, great.
So I don't know if it will be the water department or conservation department, who actually will be the owner per se, it will probably be conservation. But then there will be a point person, basically, or a point department to go to for these concerns. And if it's conservation, they'll work with water, so we don't have to like figure out, oh, this way goes this direction, this one. There'll be someone that's more or less in charge, right, that we can point to.
Chorus sings hallelujah. No, that's great. I mean,
Things are changing,
Yeah, that's great. Thank
Things
you,
changing for the
Mark and
better.
Karen,
So
yeah.
That's very, very exciting.
Yeah.
We're looking forward to, continuing down that road. And there's gonna be give and take and what have you, but,
It's gonna be a learning process along the way, but hopefully things.
we're excited to be a part of things rather than sort of out at the water department exclusively and then reporting to the select board periodically. So I think this is a good move.
I think the real challenge for this coming year, of course, will be getting the timing right so that we can actually do the work that we want to do. And
Yeah.
we've been flummoxed by that this year.
Absolutely.
And,
The big-
just spending all of our time
Yeah.
looking for funding and figuring out
The
who's gonna pay
biggest-
for what.
Second
Yeah.
main point is the dredging permit.
Yeah.
Which will allow us to proceed with, well, everything we'd like to do and give us, the kind of weapons we need to address the problems we have. I'm rifling through, my inbox here. Not the wrong inbox, sorry, excuse me. Wanted to share with you an update, brief as it is, that I got this morning from, Matt Silverman. Regarding the application for the minor dredging permit.
While you're looking for
Well-
that, Mark, is this in place now? Or are we still waiting for like someone to be assigned? Or can we assume at this point now that we don't
It's
have
in
to be
flux.
responsible?
It's in the process.
Okay. You may have just said that, but I didn't process that. Okay.
It will probably be in place within sometime this fall.
Okay.
But,
Are there any RFPs or procurement that we need happen sooner? Like,
Nick Lawlers continues to work on the
The TRT.
herbicide treatments,
yeah,
with Solitude. He believes that could be, November, that he'll have that.
for next year, we're
Yeah,
in place for this spring.
Contract for next year, by
well,
November.
this fiscal year heading into the spring. He's continuing to negotiate the details of the contract for herbicide treatment. Believes it'll be ready, done, signed off, whatever.
So we could do that early
November.
next spring.
Yeah,
Yeah,
plan
okay,
is, yeah,
okay,
in order
that's
for
good.
us to kill back the fan work.
Yeah.
Inspector will probably gotta get that in the springtime, yeah.
Great.
I reached out to Matt Silverman last week, about an update on the dredging, application. And I got this morning at 6:35, from TRC regarding the dredging permit. They say, we have completed the due diligence investigation, task 1. We're now working on the sampling plan, task 2, which we are hoping to submit in the next few weeks. Just wanted to verify target species for Long Lake before doing so, and now think we should be all set to finalize, and we'll keep you updated once completed.
We're gonna sampling, protocol sampling. They're working on the sampling.
At Long Lake, actually. And
What was the terminology?
Oh, I'm sorry, sure.
What were the target species?
I saw a fan ward at Long Lake today, FYI.
Oh, I'm not surprised.
Were you at the
Um,
beach today, by the way?
No,
I just wanted to verify.
Did you see me?
that species
There was this
They're
dark
working on
material
the
washing up.
sampling.
This is,
Oh,
yeah,
on the beach.
we are now working on the
Pretty
sampling
ugly,
plan,
but-
which, we are hoping to submit in the next few weeks.
What do you think it is? Did you agree?
3 or 4 times, yeah, it's,
I've never seen that before.
I agree, it's total scum.
Yeah.
And it's anywhere from 6 inches to 1.5 feet.
Yeah, I thought it was Exxon Valdez.
Yeah.
So this flow,
That's a
It
very,
looks like,
that's a very good description.
like there's a spill.
In terms of,
an oil spill?
well,
Well,
I
not
don't think
necessarily
that's
oil,
what it
but-
is, I'm just saying, that's a good depiction of how it appears.
Yeah.
Like my little one was like, I had to carry her over that, and that's been there a week and a half.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll check it
Little
out.
clumps, little.
and it's on the beach.
No,
It's-
it is a, yeah, so it is, you know, sometimes we get the blue-green algae, you know, that's there. It's right in that proximity. It's your first line of water from dry sand or wet
Okay,
sand, you know,
so
with regard to
It's
that.
suspended in the water.
Yeah, yeah.
And
It's like a
well,
foot and a half.
you know, as long as it's got enough water there to keep it that way. Some of it might dry out a little bit, but it's the entire length of the beach area. There's no disruption to it. I have not noted it, I don't know, Cammy, about you, I have not noted it as I kayaked around the perimeter.
No, I wasn't along Lake Park today. I didn't know. I was on the back.
Yeah,
the
so I
inlet.
haven't- I haven't
see
seen it
Yeah,
in-
I'll check out the beach.
Other areas, but the beach itself is pasted.
Just a continuous line. Just
Yeah, I mean,
short.
it comes and goes.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
got some spotty, and that could be where geese or something is trampled through, or people have trampled through. it.
Sure.
So we've seen that at times on Horse Pond.
Yeah.
And, Bob Hartzell says it's, you know, plant material.
And present just this time of year, really. If you noticed it.
Not, I mean, this time of year, we, sometimes see the algae because of the turnover of the lake. But we can see this, during the summer too, but very rarely,
Wow.
you know.
I'll keep an eye.
Yeah.
So I just, wonder, I mean, when the contract for TRC was decided that we were going to give it to them, Carl said at that point that he expected to have the, permit submissions ready by the end of August.
That was, I think, when they wrote that document, was about a month before we signed on. So, I think that was their dream, but yeah.
So that means they would expect to have the submission by the end of September.
I would expect.
So does the plant, sampling have to be done? That would be done, I assume, before the submission and the results back from that before the submission,
Lab tests,
all of that.
yeah, sure.
So.
Yeah.
Well,
They're gathering, I mean, there won't be plants that much longer, but, a lot of them passed.
I mean, I could see us getting into, last year tried to start the process and tried to do the sampling in September. And DEP said, too late, you gotta wait for the spring.
Gotta be like the actual plants, we're gonna, it's still a year off, I don't understand, but again, that gets into a whole pile of trouble, with our issues with the DEP, and we're playing their game, we're playing right along with them, we've got guys that have dealt with them, and trust that everything's gonna be fine. We are 10 months from June right now, so.
Well, I'm just saying that
If it takes 10
last
months-
year, when we tried to do the sampling in September, they said you can't do it now. You have to wait till the spring to do the sampling. And we,
Oh, you're saying the time of year is such that.
yeah,
It's like,
Yeah.
well,
and that's what we were told, that
well, no,
And then-
what
and
they were
then
saying
that
was
would
when the
happen.
application goes in, this is when you need the samples. And we couldn't do an application last year. We didn't have time. We hadn't done all the due diligence and we hadn't done anything at that point. We just discovered we had to do this. So you can't submit something and then, 10 months later, you submit something else and then you guys put it together, they've never, well.
So they expect that they'll be able to do the sampling.
I've had no flags that there's any kind of problems in terms of timeline or anything, but again, I'm not directly in touch, that's why I got back to Matt.
So it sounds like, John, your understanding is that when they submit the application, they also submit the samplings, and that's why it would make sense that they're doing it in the fall
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
You're raising a concern that it's the timing of when the sampling needs to be done closer to the season in which the harvest is getting.
Last year, they said, we were trying to do it about now, and they said, you can't do it now, you have to wait till.
Well, I think that's because we didn't have the documents right. That's my understanding.
Okay.
I could be wrong, but,
Well, I mean, if it gets submitted by the end of September, his expectation of 10 months for it to be, the permit to be, issued
Yeah.
would be end of July before
Well,
the
we can't
permit
have that,
start.
but then again, next year, we're all ready for herbicides, so. There will be a way. We're gonna get this next year. It's gonna be great. So, we have a few guns to fight with, we have some arms. We're hoping we have the permit in place.
Is it worth I don't know, somebody talking to Nick and just flagging that for Nick and make sure Nick's on top of that one with TRC?
I told Matt we were anxious to make sure that this doesn't take any longer than 10 months to process. So that we have a permit in place by June.
So again, if they have it submitted by the end of September,
We don't know that 10 months is a hard number. We have no idea. We've never done this before.
I understand that, but he said his expectation was it would take about 10 months, which would be the end of July.
Could take 10 months.
So it could be the end of July.
Well, then we don't have equal harvesting next year. I mean, that's the end result, right?
Would be.
I can't get him to go faster right now. I poked Matt yesterday, he poked back, so. I trust everything's on schedule. I have no reason to doubt it. They had great assurance that this is the way they run things. They've done this before. They dealt with David Wong. Things should go very smoothly.
Yeah, okay.
I appreciate your concern. Nothing wrong with that. So I think that's great. But,
Yeah.
does anybody else have any news items?
Well, we were talking about, Mark's and Aaron's recommendation, and you went to that. If we could just go back to, your suggestions again. If some of these, funding elements end up being, requested of CPC, or, I mean, the different groups have different budget schedules, right? And for CPC, typically we need to get in front of them, by November at least, right? So, and we have been, making those presentations in the past. So you were talking about permitting and, the solicitation and contracting being picked up by somebody else, with advocating and requesting funding from CPC and LWD also be picked up?
Yes, I hope so, yes. So if you have CPC fund requests this year, send them to me and I'll work on getting them through the process.
Okay.
And if this is a technical presentation required to support justify the.
Then I'll be reaching out.
Okay, but you can put together some stuff and you can do
Yeah.
Be the front man.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
He's our front man.
so, so we have a lot of
I'm just
experience,
gonna forward it off to someone.
but, for some of these permits, we have a lot of experience in requesting them and getting them and that kind of thing. In some cases, the Water Department and Conservation Commission don't have experience in doing those. And so, we would be happy to collaborate, with whoever ends up doing them so that it's, you know,
So the goal is to get them the experience so that you guys don't have to do it, right? So
and
you will start off with you guys supporting them and then hopefully, or
yeah,
it'll be more of a flip in a year or two, right? So,
that's great. Thank you very much. That's
Yeah,
really
no,
great.
I'm very excited.
but just to be clear, things like, you know, the boat ramps or something like that, that's something different. That's probably still more in your guys' court, you know, like improvements to the lake rather than management type things will still be handled outside, right? We can work through the similar process probably, right? But we're trying to take away more of the management stuff.
The things that we're doing to preserve the quality of the lakes and that we need permits for
Yes.
and contracts for, that's what we're talking
Right.
about.
At least initially, I mean, like the boat docks and things probably end up going through conservation eventually anyway. Maybe you guys advocate that we need them and then we'll flip over there, but
Right.
you know, you can start the process and then we'll move them over on those things, but the more the lake management stuff,
Right.
we'll move over quicker.
The projects, would often be at this point, requested, funding requests would be for CPC. That's the sort of thing that they, is sort of in their bailiwick. So, we'd still be, coordinating on that.
Yeah.
And in some cases, if it makes sense for us to be the advocate at the CPC with, you know, with the CPC requests, you know, that's fine too. We can do that.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Something for everybody, wow.
So, like what I hear, because of the recent past, Mark, I just wanna opening up some of the new avenues, the new sources that was done in the last 12 to 18 months was a challenge of significant proportion.
Yeah.
And I'll just throw out an example or two to understand, the complexity. Like, I can see from the DCR presentations that I've seen a real solid case to be made for redoing the beach sand and just restoration of that beach replacement, which falls right into Park and Rec. And similarly, a different project that this group has discussed and not necessarily agreeing with it, but washing stations with regard to ramps and that sort of thing. Each of those to me has a complexity with regard to, first, this group agreeing that they want to pursue it. And then second, it falls into not necessarily a clean cut conscom, you know, it's got Park and Rec implications, that sort of thing. Is that sort of thing that you would envision interacting with whoever the liaison is from the select board or the TA, you know, that sort of thing in order to funnel it? I'm just trying to get a direction with those examples of, because I think those are real situations and not the only ones that may come up with the coming years.
Yeah, so, yeah, I think funneling it through the select board or, yeah, that's probably the best. And then things like the beach sand, right, probably needs, something like that needs to be on like the Park and Rec 10-year capital improvement plan, right? And if there's washing stations, we should get them on some capital improvement plan. Forgetting the funding source, because that's a completely, they should just need to be on some plan so we can say, look, we need these type of things, whether, and we don't, it doesn't really matter whose plan they're on, they just need to be on a plan so they can be evaluated against all the other capital items.
This group come to determination of interest in doing something and then knocking on the door of somebody select in administration and then determine the right sequence.
Yeah, and
Thank you.
I'll be that person for the, you know, and for the,
For life.
yeah. You can have the seat whenever you want it.
So, for these kinds of things, would we be working through you or through Nick?
So the improvements work with, so the lake management stuff for the moment work through Nick. But the other stuff, you can come to me and I'll help get them on a plan.
Or we can make both of you aware of it
Sure.
and we can see,
I'm gonna be working with Nick too, though.
yeah, okay.
Good crossover. All right. Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't want to jump into the permit application as a separate subject. I was still thinking about news items, but sorry about that. Anybody has anything else to add?
I have tried to get in touch with, the conservation law.
Law Foundation.
Yeah, and I haven't gotten any response back yet. But the minutes were helpful today because I looked at it, I was like, oh crap, I'm supposed to be doing that. So I did call today. I had emailed before and I called and I left a message with somebody and I also sent another email to a different inbox. So I'll keep you posted. This is to find out about what's going on, Mark, with the Patriot Beverage. So I don't know if anyone in town has heard anything. Like, seems weird that they wouldn't keep the town informed of what's going on.
I haven't heard anything, I'll ask.
Okay. Yeah, so we're trying to find out through the Conservation Law Foundation what's going on with it. So no update except that I've I've started the process.
Action item.
Yeah, my action item. I need action items or yes.
Oh, and also, along those same lines, do we have any updates on, what's happening with the, wetland park over at Long Lake?
Sure. Yeah, so I'll say in their last or the previous Conscom approved dredging as presented by Ty and Bond. They came up with two plans. They selected one of them. So the flat area on Lake Drive is going to be the staging area, if you will, in the deep watering. And approved is the dredging, and here we go with that number, 99 cubic yards is what was submitted with Conscom. Also, my opinion, somewhat scolded with regard to Ty and Bond. They mixed it up a bit and they said, Ty and Bond wouldn't need to be coming to you for a permit if not for you were ignoring the maintenance that should have been done over many years prior to this. So they took a piece of them in very quickly. And so the expectation is this fall is the hoped for scenario during a dry period so that they can remove the first basin only, right, and then dewater it and then get it out of there in that flat area. So that's the hoped for scenario. I'd say it's in the hands of DPW Steve Yonley in working with Ty and Bond that the select board has approved, for this contract. It's supposed to have a maintenance recommendation series of agreements, with regard to their proposal, not agreements, but proposals, it's not keep them going. And then just side task outside of Clean Lakes, also approved by Conscom, was the replacement for $88,000, 800 CPC funds to replace the walkway in entirety. So that's going to be removed and replaced after the dredging is completed. And then there's also a $30,000 separate invasive disposal in the Frog Pond area. So all three of those elements got approved with the expectation that the dredging happens, the walkway next, and the invasives somewhere related to all.
Now, aquatic invasives or terrestrial?
That's terrestrial. Yeah, it's terrestrial.
That's great. Yay, finally.
And in the future, provided we do this maintenance or dredging routinely, there shouldn't be anywhere near 99 cubic yards of material.
So I would say that's a really good point. And in light of the conversation you just had with regard to transitioning, yes, you guys have heard it years. Steve Yonley effectively felt like he got it dumped on him, with regard to no resources to do the work, but yet he had all of a sudden the charge and the responsibility to get that stuff done.
Yeah.
My opinion, Clean Lakes from the standpoint of the Long Lake, Pond should be on your radar screen with regard to now checking in with the tie-in bond recommendation, become very familiar with it, and then prosecute, if you will, with either select board liaison or DPW with regard to, okay, now that we did this, we've learned our lesson of 20 years ago, and we're never going to allow this to happen again. And therefore, you need to assist us with, it's on your radar screen for whatever execution is, proposed, or beat it up yourself.
Yeah.
With regard to you for your district.
That sounds like something that should get added then to our yearly calendar. Every October, we check in on
Yeah.
Rock Pond or something.
Well, we'll see, yeah, I don't think they'll have to clean it annually.
No, but
What?
we probably should, it's like, I don't know,
Whatever.
like testing your pool filter or
You
something.
guys decide.
And have they
That's
made any determination, have the engineers said, this is what we recommend, or, in
I've
terms of-
not seen that, nor have I heard it. And maybe the one concern of mine, Erin Hale, if you're familiar with Erin,
Mhm.
she's spoken a couple of times with and so there were some samples that were taken, like you folks are dealing with regard to, the dredging, the minor dredging permit. And, Steve Yonley has stated publicly, he expects that, the stormwater drain basin, et cetera, is basically going to be the 99 yards of primarily sand. But should there be, the undesirable elements, then the price tag of that dredged material and, where do you go, where do you get to take it? If they get any sort of that bad guy kind of stuff, then it's a whole different ballgame with regard to where are you permitted to go, and for gazillion dollars associated with my terms, not theirs. But that would be the one fly in the ointment potentially, and I've not heard anything with regard to the samples and what the results of the samples were. So that would be something to pay attention.
I haven't heard any, red flags or anything
Mhm.
that way.
But I would agree. There were none raised. It was rather, they did sidewalk and they got it all resolved and it's all approved, and now it's just a matter of in go mode.
Is there an engineering plan now? Cause I had reached out to Yonley and he didn't have that yet. That was probably a few months ago though.
I did the site walk with Conscom and Steve, and they certainly had extensive detailed mapping and drawings with regard to proposed access and things of that nature. I did not get a copy of them, nor did I try it, but so I would think those plans are readily available.
Yeah.
And often those things have kind of like a summary description, cryptic as it is, with regard to what their expectations are as to what they're going to do.
The operation itself, do you know, how they plan on removing the debris? Are they gonna get a machine in there, or are they gonna pump it out?
Yeah, so looking to entry, go with, excavator, sort of thing, grab it, pull it up, back up, put it over on the flat area,
Oh, okay,
and
literally an axle or
you may
something.
know, I actually think it's almost like 2 years ago when I started this, Steve said he had experience doing this sort of work. So I think it's DPW actually doing the physical, grab it and de-water it. And I will be anxious to see where he's taking that de-watered material. That's another aspect I encourage you folks to pay. I know I will as a resident, because I just like to know if he can take that there, can we take some other stuff there?
Yeah. So we still don't know if that's gonna be in September, October, but it's been approved.
It's approved by Conscom, so it's in the execution mode that I would say is clearly DPW's hands.
That's great. I appreciate your involvement.
Yeah.
So, hey, it's almost time for us to get into, the budget. I don't know how far we're gonna get on this tonight. We had a meeting, last month. Leon, Dave and I got together over the library and started in on this. Trying to update our active budget, which includes, last year, fiscal year 2025, and this year, 2026. Then, of course, looking forward to, the 5-year plan. Everybody has, you got paperwork on that. Everybody's got papers. Mark, did you get? Thank you. The flyers on it. So, I thought we could run down through some of the changes we've just made to, the tail end of the, FY 2025 budget, active budget, and then flip over to 2026, and then start looking at the 5-year plan.
Do you want to say, Rob? Do you want to talk?
In the most general terms, this 5-year plan, is a working tool for us, going forward. It's not necessarily hard and fast. It can incorporate, some dreams, some aspirations, some long-term, planning, on our part, in terms of trying to project, where we're gonna be. And it also has us lay down some of the things that we think are gonna be constant. And everything's up for debate to a certain extent. And of course, some would advocate we're not spending nearly enough money on the lakes, to counteract eutrophication, to prolong their lives, to preserve things, and make them even better than they are. But again, invasives have taken an awful lot of, our funding the past few years and seem to have spiked at Spec Pond and Forge Pond, over the past 3 years, for a number of reasons: climate, weather conditions, and probably flow from some stream or another. I don't think it's been, some fishermen bringing everything in on his unclean boat, but then again, I have no proof that it's not. So, but we do have an ongoing invasive problem that needs to be addressed. Furthermore, we want to leave Mill Pond out of this. They're in tough straits, and I think we'd like to look forward to a time when we really do some serious remediation, even if it comes down to the point where we discuss removing the dam. I don't know if it comes to that, but I don't see any other change in terms of cleanup, after 20 years dancing around with the Army Corps of Engineers. But we would entertain that, and we certainly have it reflected on the, on this 5-year budget proposal, or the model that we're working with. So again, if you're having ideas, if you have thoughts about what you'd like to see happen, related ideas, for example, or well, anything, but don't feel the least reluctance to bring it up, and to see if we can work it in or discuss it. And so that's what the 5-year plan is, sort of get off on tangents pretty quick, in terms of what's happening, and trying to think about the future, your needs, what's inflation going to do, are things going to get increasingly worse, are things going to plateau? We don't know, but again, this is where, from a 5-year standpoint, we can kind of take a snapshot and see how we're doing. So let's look at the page that's portrait up and down, is in 1 of 2 of the active Littleton Clean Lakes Committee budget. This is the year, fiscal year 2025, ended last day of June this year. So the big change is a couple of things. Under Spec Pond, we added a lake management plan for what, $30,000, and that's pretty accurate, right?
Yep. As far as we know.
And that was used. We actually used water department funds on that, in lieu of the invasives management, which we couldn't do this year. So there was a considerable pot of money there that allowed you guys to just jump on that management plan. Very helpful. One other change that
Total balance, what does the total balance mean?
I'm sorry, total balance.
Fourth.
It says budgeted actual source total balance, LWD balance.
So what does it mean if it's a negative balance? Does that mean it wasn't budgeted?
For example, the hydro view stations in Davenport, that was not budgeted.
And so what does it mean that it's kind of,
It just has to be reconciled.
Negative, that's parentheses are, yeah.
yeah, what does that mean practically?
It means it has to be paid for.
Okay.
It was paid for. But it wasn't initially budgeted.
Okay,
And I'll be quite frank with you, I don't know what that $1,440 is for the hydro view stations in Danforth.
it's a subscription, I think.
Well, I thought that was the,
There's an annual
if I can
subscription for
jump
the
forward, is it that much? Oh, I guess it is. I guess it is that much.
I encourage to dig back some of the paperwork. We discussed that extensively.
Yeah, no, it's, in fact, that was when we started, that's where the 1440 came
I
from.
mean, all of your receipts that you.
All the receipts were run through and, well, YouTube kind of put this together initially, so that's where that came from.
Yeah,
And I think that was the first year we actually got the dashboard going and paid for it like that, and we hadn't budgeted for it, we hadn't thought about it until, time came, so, that came from the water department. So a negative number at this point, means that, it was not in budget.
it just may be, in my opinion, a matter that we're breaking it out differently than how we've discussed it in terms of their budgeted dollars, et cetera. If the end result is that they're able to absorb that unique line item without any impact, I don't see that as being problematic.
Oh, I don't think it's a problem, so I don't, no, I'm just, I'm trying to include the things, I mean, this has been included on this for months now, from January, I think. But yeah, no, and again, they don't just disappear. Somehow it gets reconciled to a total, is a deficit there, but yeah. Lake management plan at Spec Pond, again, the total balance was minus $30,000. That comes out of the $62,000. And, well, to be honest with you, I didn't know how else to reconcile it, but, at the end of the day, you'll find with the water department, we left considerable amount of money on the table.
Yep, again.
Which is the first time we've done that, but without the permit, that couldn't be avoided. So, you jump down, the Forge Pond item, where, the drawdowns, the engineering study for improving drawdowns, that funding was withdrawn by the water department. And the matching, Friends of Forge Pond funds, of course, were withdrawn. So, $30,000 was taken off the budget. And we're gonna be moving that down to fiscal year 2027. So I think those are the only two changes I made, on reconciling fiscal year 2020.
We came in under budget.
Yeah, well, we didn't have a permit to do what we wanted.
Right, because we didn't do nearly as much as we wanted to do.
But yeah, so it was definitely a different year.
Do we have, I mean, I'm guessing we probably don't know the answer to this, but any idea what other towns spend on their lake management efforts? Like what's normal to spend for a lake?
No idea at all.
And how would we find that out? Is that something conservation
Yeah, Harvard, for instance, is $95,000 for herbicide treatments, Knott's Pond,
for one
Lost
pond?
Lake. Well, it's the conglomeration of their several ponds, but it's,
There's two ponds that are together.
yeah, there's a cow pond and something like that, and Knott's Pond, yeah.
And they're
We got
just doing
95.
herbicide?
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, they do have a harvesting too.
They had been doing harvesting, I think they've given up on that now.
I don't think so.
Yeah, last time I talked to the main mover and shaker, this was about 6 months ago. That's what he said. They harvesting wasn't working for them.
seems like there should be like a Clean Lakes Committee of all the towns around sharing best practices and benchmarking.
Yeah,
We've reached out, Friends of Forge Pond has reached out to half dozen lakes to find out what they're doing. Bear Hill Pond, Hickory Hills Pond, the Harvard ponds, some of the ponds in Westford.
Have an annual pond meeting. What are you doing in your town? How much are you spending? What are you seeing?
And it's almost like
They have
you with
a regional.
you doing the research with the CPA, the CPC fund, where you've got that database, that doesn't appear to exist. So Tim, my recommendation to you to scratch that is to task Tim or ask Tim to do it, because he and I have attended multiple
Yeah,
meetings, and I have actually talked with him to say, I think we went to these meetings thinking that we were going to be learning from other communities, and instead you speak and you end up being the magnet to which others are coming
Right,
to you for
right.
guidance, which seems not what we have as an expectation. But I do
we're the experts suddenly.
I do think that Tim has shown a real, by bringing in like the DCR for the
Yeah.
presentations that they have, he's shown a real ability to communicate his network. And so that question could be asked of him to pursue.
So Jamie Aldrich has a group that gets together about quarterly called has a Green Advisory Committee.
Oh, right, you sent me
And
that one, yeah.
The next one I'll invite you to.
Okay,
The guy that does the Harvard Ponds is there. There's someone from Oars there and someone from,
What do they call the group?
the Green Advisory Council, I think is what it is. It meets on a Saturday about once a quarter.
in Acton, and the topics are wide ranging. It's not just like
It's
stuff,
not
it's like a,
all,
yeah,
I mean, I think the last time someone from the Nature Conservancy presented,
yeah.
but it's not necessarily that the topic will be related to the lakes, but it's a way of networking to other people that do.
So we can reach out to Jamie and ask him to.
I'm on the thing, so I'll invited Cammy last time. Maybe
I could make, yeah, let me know, yeah, I'll try to go to that.
You don't have to flood the meeting, but someone can show up and.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, I derailed us asking about that, just that benchmarking question.
And I know Harvard did go harvesting last year. I don't know what they did this year.
In Chelmsford, we saw the article in the Little Sun, they did eco harvesting.
Let's C&D, I guess they're the only show in town.
Only show in
All
town.
up and down the coast.
Hickory Hill Lake, does Dash on their own. And they have,
This is Western.
no,
Shirley, Lancaster.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
And they have a dredging permit?
oh, yeah,
Oh, they do?
oh, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, well, no, they don't.
Oh,
It's,
they just do it.
they have a permit to do their work, right, but they haven't been, told that they need to have dredging permits. But they have Dash operations, it's all volunteers from they have a pretty big HOA, couple hundred properties. They have, 5, Dash operations every week, all through the summer. So they have dozens and dozens of, times when they're going out to do dive assisted suction harvesting.
And citizens are doing that.
Volunteers from, community, yeah.
people who want to scuba dive.
Yeah, there's like 4 or 5 divers, and each time they go out, there's 4 other volunteers, 2 that handle plants that come out, and 2 that handle the.
Let's get Chuck on that.
It's a lot of work,
Yeah.
and they're barely keeping up with things.
Mm.
That's a tremendous effort, and they're barely able to, keep things in check.
Hmm.
So,
Wow, so it doesn't wipe it out necessarily,
well,
or it's just a formidable task.
it does, but they're, I mean, the fact that they're doing it on the whole lake is amazing, right? I mean, there's no way that we could do Dash on a whole lake, right? But they've been doing it for years, and so, people will spot it and they've got the lake laid out in grids, and if somebody spots something, they go get a buoy, they put it there and they report it. And then the Dash team that week will
Dashes into action.
and go get it.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah. So, even with that, which is like the most effective way to deal with the plants, yes.
I wonder what the ratio is of the watershed area to the lake area for that lake.
It's small, it's not as big as Forge Pond.
Well, Fort Pond is huge,
Yeah,
but the GLM, is it the Guide to Lake Management? Says that if that ratio is larger than 10, almost nothing you do in the lake is gonna make any difference. Now, I wonder if that sort of rule of thumb applies there, and that's why they're working so hard and yet barely keeping even.
But a fairly recent phenomenon, right? I mean,
Right,
with the drawdowns and things, you had enough success over the years, up until 3 years ago,
right.
where things were fairly in check. Good shape.
Pretty
Like-
well, yeah.
I think the GLM advice was related to controlling nutrients coming in. Not
Well,
necessarily.
right. But you can't really control the growth of plants unless you can control the nutrients. But the plants are being very generously fed
Sure.
and,
See, my take on that is if a dash effort were underway in the immediate beach swimming areas, it would be noted by the public in a very positive way, even if it requires to be repeated numerous times by volunteers. But nonetheless, the sort of statements that have been made in the last year and a half here, like I'm thinking about your kids, it's scummy, I don't wanna go in.
Yeah.
If those aspects were removed visibly, the public would have this is better than what it was. That doesn't mean that the rest of the lake to your watershed,
yeah.
mentioned, I think is dead on.
But
But
I think you're right, the optics of that are really good.
the optics are it.
Yeah,
The dash is a good optic maneuver.
Yeah, so this past summer, Friends of Forge Pond was planning to do dash treatment at the Westford Beach, Forge Pond Beach over in Westford to basically to do what you said. But we checked with Tim and Tim checked with DEP and DEP said that dash falls under the same restriction as aquaharvesting as far as needing the dredging permit. So we're not allowed to do dash either until we get the dredging permit.
From the experience at Fours and a couple other meetings, I do think we are in the trap of we're asking proper permissions, and many other communities, from my take, they're more Chuck-like.
No, I believe that most of them do have permits for what they're doing, but their permits were issued years and years and years ago, and they just keep getting automatically renewed.
Without awareness though.
Well, and DEP is not involved with those. And they're being renewed by the Conservation Commission.
So I'm in agreement with you, and I think in Tim, we have somebody who is knowledgeable with regard to the I's and T's, etc. And I'm not criticizing him. That's the way it should be, but I think
That's how these other communities are getting away with dash, is what you're saying. All right, back to the budget
And echo harvesting.
and echo harvesting.
Page 2. Some updates on this, the minor dredging permit application is reflected in the line of fundings, $39,000, $14,000 of which comes from the water department and $25,000 from the select board from 2 different funds. So that's reflected there.
So, Forge Pond, had, two plant surveys done this year. Along with, water quality testing with those surveys. Provided by the Westford Hill Lake and Ponds Collaborative. And the cost was $9,200. So we should include that. That was July and September. The plant survey that's here is one that would presumably be done next June.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, again, for everyone's benefit, this funding is good through the end of the following June,
Right.
or, this upcoming June.
Yeah.
June 30th. And we plan to utilize it to its fullest.
Mhm.
So,
Is the spec pond lake management plan from this year, so that was $30,000, is that all been spent?
No. They were close. Last time I checked with Dick Lawler.
So we don't have, do we have the lake management plan yet?
I do not have in hand that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So should,
I have
does that
some work
need to
on
carry, does that need to carry over?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was identified last month.
Okay.
I mean.
Right, so that's not on 26, it's what I'm.
well, no, that was funded from 2025 funds.
Okay, so we don't have to carry over.
No.
Okay.
It's just, it's reconciled itself.
And I may be looking ahead too. I don't see lake
Well, there's some
management plans on,
So there's an additional charge.
No, I know that they, TRC, Carl Nielsen, have been working on that plan. But I don't have in my hand a finished.
Okay, we don't have the payment.
Yes.
All right.
So,
Maybe less came out of 2025 and there'll be some supplement to make up the difference from the 2026.
Yeah.
at our last meeting, that was the understanding.
Well, it would be the understanding, but I don't know where it makes sense. Yeah, certainly.
I mean,
But it's not all $30,000. I mean, we made some payment to them. The whole point was we wanted to utilize those funds well in advance of them expiring, and I think we did.
well, but
I don't know precisely how much.
if they're still doing work in, this fiscal year, based on, our experience with, our engineering study, they couldn't fund that from 25 funds.
No, I couldn't.
Yeah. Yeah, in my mind, they gotta invoice you. Then you pay.
But then we'll have
I'm not-
to adjust, we'll have to adjust these
The
ends.
work would have to be done by the end of June in order for it.
Should have been, right? Yeah.
I mean, Tammy's point is that, there should be some,
We don't know what foot.
well, it's,
But right now, we put it all on 2025. It's not true.
Yeah.
We know it's not probably all reconciled.
we should probably put a placeholder there for the,
We can do that, but there's no reason to put that in there until we know what the numbers are.
so we don't forget about it.
We will not forget about it.
I'm looking ahead a little bit, like the other lakes, we don't have plans for lake management plans for the other lakes, we do? I didn't see that.
We got stuff
The
coming
name
out.
of it is changed to Lake Preservation Plan,
Got it, okay, that is my confusion.
and it's at $32,000 instead of the 30 that got removed this year. I expect that's reflecting inflation.
And we just have that for, oh, I see, it for Long Lake and 29, okay.
That's, half of the cost.
Okay, but 32 instead of 30. Oh, I see. Right, 30 was the whole cost. Okay, I like that. That's, I mean, my own expectation is that $30,000 going by. Yeah, unexpected. So, glad to hear that's half.
And the watershed's bigger and, at that end.
Inflation and
Second
prices,
Pond, they already had a plan in place from 10 years ago, and they could build on that, and we don't have a similar plan for Long Lake or for Forge Pond or Mill Pond. All good.
Or those lake surveys were by, from the Forge Pond?
No, Westford of Lake.
Oh.
Yeah. 9,200.
Or, yeah, got That's cool.
And is I'm jumping ahead again too. Mill Pond consultation in 2029 at 20,000. Well, that's not a lake, that's not a lake preservation plan. That's just the consultation to get to a lake. I mean, or is that the dam bit like? Okay,
I think it's a placeholder.
Yeah.
I think it's-
okay. I'm just wondering if that's
There's
gonna be.
lots of that.
All right, that's fine. Well, that's what 5-year plans are.
Well, let's take a look.
All right, sorry.
2025 was updated based on the changes and improvements we've made, on the active budget that we were just looking at, on the 5-year plan. And then the subsequent 5 years beyond that, are where we're going to be focused. So we run down 2025. And again, you can look at these, any way you want. You can run things horizontally, you can run things vertically, but if we just look year to year at this point, and talk about those things that carry on, we'll again, get lost in the details. If I'm running down 1.5, we have a lake preservation plan on Peck Pond for $30,000. And again, that number will be reconciled when we have a better understanding of how the payments were made. But that is part of the chart. And if it hasn't been paid in full out of 2025 funds, it will be paid on, it will be completed 2026 and paid for as such, and will be duly noted. So again, these things are in constant revision. We just don't revise it very frequently. So running this all the way down, we've got, as an aside, different nomenclature. We just mentioned instead of a lake management plan, based on conversations we've had and appeals we've made in seeking funding from the Community Preservation Committee, they bristle at the notion of providing funding for management projects, for maintenance projects, for recurring projects. We're all very clear on that. And if we come to look at things like invasive aquatic management, and we change that to invasive aquatics for aquatic invasive removal, it becomes AIR, and you'll see AIR all over this. So AIR is our new nomenclature for aquatic invasive removal. It's not management, it's not mowing the lawn, it's not maintenance, it's...
Is that herbicide? Because then there's also eco harvesting.
It is every weapon we have in the book.
Okay, because we still see eco harvesting in some places, and then there's AIM. Is that something
AIM.
else completely?
AIM was the old approach.
Okay.
And it hasn't been changed around. It's, as I said,
Okay.
working model. It got skipped over, but,
Okay.
but AIM was aquatic invasive management.
Okay, so AIM should be air.
That should be air.
Got it.
And unless we come up with a better name.
And eco harvesting should be,
You could use AIM and
But eco harvesting, where it's reflected, is that in Long Lake?
yeah,
That is because we have funding that's allocated for eco harvest.
only, okay,
It's not more generic.
got it,
And,
okay.
And that was a mistake I made when I requested the funds and, completely damn sure.
That was the guidance we got.
That was the guidance we got. In fact, I didn't bring that up. We did have a follow-up meeting, with the CPC, just a couple weeks ago. It was that, and it was specifically to address issues that when we come to apply for from them, exactly how we should go about them and how general they can be as opposed to how specific. And I think the upshot of the meeting was that there should be an explanation of our objective, but also a number of things that should be mentioned in the application to include
Possible activities to achieve the objective.
possible ways of going about things or things that we couldn't anticipate or don't anticipate happening, like not having this permit process. My thought earlier on in the year when we went to the CPC, and I said, well, you know, we have leftover funds for floating islands, and maybe we could prevent further floating islands. That's what $17,000 for Long Lake. would have gone a long way. And since the application, and I didn't anything, herbicide treatments, or any way to attack the floating islands other than going in, scooping them up and dragging them away. They said, you know, honestly, we cannot accept that as a variable. No variable, you need more generic, so then, yeah, we want to make specific proposals. And of course, in the case of the CPC, you want to have a capital improvement. As earlier, the idea of trying to amass what we'd like to do and then bring that to him to execute. We would say, all right, those funds would be better from the select board. You know, allocated as part of the annual funds. And so we shouldn't ask the CPC to do what they don't do well. You know, in as much as we're not being asked what we don't do well, or to do what we don't do well, the same should hold true. And shouldn't have to, you know, twist anyone's arm or what have you to do that. There should be a need to check.
For that acronym AIM, you can continue to still use that if you just define it as aquatic invasive mitigation. That's removal, herbicides. Yeah.
Wicked. I feel like that.
Yeah. Because removal is
Genius.
That's limited to removal. Mitigation is better.
I think it should be noted that in CPC, you received a very welcoming and how can we do this? How can we assist you? It was really a handshake. It was anything but.
Amazing.
I just think that for everybody that wasn't there, you know, they really were going out of their way to find ways that they can do right by their responsibilities as the CPC members, voting members, the community. I thought that was really praiseworthy.
Yeah.
We got that assistance.
Yeah.
In regard to that, John, I'd like, because the Muck Island that we are trapped legitimately, you know, so I agree that the areas that were worked on a year and a half ago, whatever that was, those aren't existing anymore, but there is that area, if you're at the boat ramp looking out into the lake over to the left, that area becomes similar to Diane's location where it was an island, but if it had not been addressed, there would not be an island, it would have become shoreline. And we have that situation over to the left of the boat ramp that just every year it dries up and becomes a effective, not floating island, but expansive of the erosion of the water property because of the now stubborn.
It self-annexes to the shore.
Correct. And so I wonder if there's that opportunity for.
Sure.
And one go out.
Near the boat run?
Or over to the left, it's on the far left.
It's like on the Queen Road and as Middlesex Drive.
Yeah.
And I would argue that attacking Queen Road with those funds, we might go out there, some of us, and take a look at that from the standpoint, might it fit within the acceptable realm with regard to CPC and then use those funds before they're returned? And I'm not trying to waste taxpayer money, rather trying to say.
Prevent it from becoming, yeah.
That might be worthwhile to explore.
I think that's a wonderful.
Yeah, that's a slightly more wetlandy corner of the pond for sure.
I'll get with you on it. We'll take a look at that.
Yeah, happy to do that. And then, I don't know if we could take some photos, et cetera, because your voice and place there is very respected. It's very obvious.
Yeah.
Very much appreciated.
I also have a canoe, so if you need a boat,
Yeah, well, John's got boats.
I'm not afraid of muck.
get in the muck. They've just finished work, on Queen Road and there's a new, well, I don't know what you call it. It's like a retaining basin. Have you seen it?
No.
Yeah, so it's right at the end of Middlesex Drive. That's where I parked to go running with the dog and it's rock lined. It's a big basin. I've seen big snapping turtles in there like years ago. Mona likes to go and sit in it after runs. It's really gross. But that's part of all the work that they did because that road was flooding. Lisa, do you live on Queen Road? She with us? Maybe not. She's gone.
Somebody's hand up.
That's the room. Oh, Lisa's not here anymore. Is she?
I don't know.
I thought she lived near anyway, sorry, I digress.
There's work to be done before it gets too cold, et cetera, in order to get into your planning.
Well, would you have to have CDC up this year?
CDs, no, we have it no, that's not exhaustive yet.
Oh, okay. Okay, we don't have to spend that CPC money with what is it, CDC? Yeah, but what's the guys who come and do the Muck Islands? C&D, okay.
C&D is the water.
Yeah.
They don't have to, yeah, okay.
Ed, are you there?
Oh, Ed's there, there's Lisa, okay.
Yeah, I'm here. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can. Somebody had their hand up and I didn't know if it was you.
No, it's not me. I saw that too. The hand's down now.
It was you, it was Littleton meeting.
I think, it was Littleton meeting. It looked like the hand was up.
I had my own hand up, thanks. Technological wizard that I was. Okay.
All right, what else?
So for this coming year, right?
Yeah,
So I have two comments.
sure.
One is, I'm not sure that the amount we have budgeted for water quality testing is adequate. I don't remember exactly how much they were this year, but
We had 3,000 allocated for this year and it turns out we got 2 months. They're not going out in September,
I thought it was more than 1,500 a time.
yeah, well, we're putting 6,000 towards water quality testing in fiscal year 2026.
So my suggestion is, let's check with Josh or Michael and see what the appropriate number would be if we did May, June, July, August.
And why are they not doing it in September? Because there's not enough budget?
There aren't any funds available.
Okay, because we're out of money.
I think this is the perfect opportunity to throw that to Tim or Lauren and ask them to chase that with water and, because it gets into the invoices with Josh and that sort of thing.
Right.
I kind of did it a year ago. I think they could chase that.
Right, an ongoing thing is water quality testing once a month from May to September? May, June, July, August, September, 5 months of water quality
The
testing?
other one would probably give us the same results. We have done
So
this.
3 times of three samplings between May and September every year for, yeah.
Or ask them to
Quite a lot of things. Usually when we're testing now, we go out, we do a deep test, we do a mid-level test and a
Yeah,
surface test. And, they'll put together results from the 2 months that we've sampled this year. And see where things stand. We've done testing for 5 months out of the year, some years, and
yeah, I remember Anne doing her reports.
yeah, and they're great.
Yeah.
And yet the thing I seem to recall most about them are the oddities, the little, I can't quite explain why this is, off the charts this month, because it was right back to where it was prior to that, the following reading, but, again, that comes down to lab testing or something. But we have constantly felt the need to do annual testing so that we have this reference. So we have something we can refer to. Somebody can say, well, what was it like 15 years ago? Well, we could tell you.
Yeah.
But we have yet to come to any conclusion except that eutrophication continues, and time marches on. But, the results don't seem to tell us or give us a direction, to indicate, what we really ought to be doing is, hey, how come we didn't see this, kind of result.
Well, and I understood part of that was because we just didn't have enough data yet for enough, right? Like,
How much?
I was hoping that we're gonna see some change in DO, since we have not treated for herbicides for 3 years. We've been doing echo harvesting. I'd like to see the DO data, but last time around,
Well,
the machine wasn't working. I guess we didn't get the DO, but we may be able to leverage off TRC's data because they were doing DO. Anyway, we'll knit something together.
I think the test results we've got for the last few, next number of years will be useful for the lake preservation plans.
yeah,
And there will be additional guidance in those as to what we should be doing for this going forward.
that's good.
Yeah. So the other thing I wanted to mention was, let's look at 2027 fiscal year to just see what do we already have, who do we think we, what do we need to be asking for still? So, for the common, we've got this, water quality testing, hydro view dashboards. That is, expected to be from the water department, but that is, worked out. The spec pond, is, the aquatic invasive, mitigation. And, that is also expected to be from the water department, but, needs to be. So both of those sections need to be part of, requests for the upcoming year. For Forge Pond, the 80,000 for aquatic invasive mitigation is already allocated by CPC. The engineering study for drawdown improvements was.
Oh, well, no, we were talking about 2027.
Yeah.
We have the monies from 2026.
What?
So at Forge Pond,
Yeah,
the $80,000,
80,000, that's CPC would have to,
that's CPC money, yeah.
right, and that's already in place. We have 3 years to spend that money that we got for 6, I mean, it was out.
So, in fact, we really don't need to request, we don't need any additional funds for 2027. We have those funds.
Well, that's what I'm trying to identify what we have and what we need to be requesting. So the only thing we don't have to be requesting so far is the 80,000 for Forge Pond, invasive mitigation.
That's great. So we really lose that.
Well,
It's already there.
well,
We don't need another 8,000.
that's
what I'm
right,
saying.
but it's part of the budget.
It is part of the budget.
Yeah.
So, hold on, it's not part of the budget in both 26 and 27. You have 80,000.
There's no need for it to be. in
No, you have
2027.
80,000 allocated,
It's already there.
but the
We don't,
budget shows 160.
it does.
Yeah,
So I just exited or removed it.
so, yeah.
This is where a 5-year plan goes, wait a minute.
Yeah.
So Dave, if I could,
So if we leave it in 26, then that assumes we're gonna be able to do the treatment in June.
so I agree.
So we should probably leave it there and remove it from 27. And if we can't do it in June,
When
then,
remove it from 27 or ask for additional
We're only
funds.
talking about
oh,
80,000.
yeah, that's right.
This
Yeah.
last time.
But
With-
again,
yeah.
this is a head game.
But
This is
you
really.
but you already have it. So it shouldn't-
So,
No, I think that's a misunderstanding. We don't have. We don't have it for fiscal year 2027.
yeah, right.
And we need it.
What my
The
mistake.
anticipation is.
So, what we have now, we would hope to spend in June.
which is part of
The tail end of 26.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then, so we do need, for 27.
Yeah.
So the
Yeah,
point that I'd like to make is that the commitment that you made to CPC as they gave you the approval was they wanted greater what your expectation is, and then they want greater results and a recap with regard to whether your work was successful or not. So as much as you're moving it potentially because it's previously funded, there needs to be an asterisk or something with regard to going back to that group and presenting to them
Yeah,
the results of your efforts.
so, what John is saying, is we should not remove it, we should leave them all there, with the expectation that, so, yes, the treatment for next summer is intended to be a, litmus test on how good this works.
Correct.
And if it works well, then these amounts we have in here, we will need, or we will request. If it doesn't work well, then we have to go back to the drawing board and say, what should we be doing?
I would agree with that, but I'd also say that as you lay out a 5-year plan with the same, repeating the same thing, I think you're walking into the maintenance trap. And so given the conversations that you've had, I think that, we're gonna identify some things that you said, like fan work. You've got the ability, I think, to craft your language and your request with regard to mitigating and removing a specific bad guy. Fan word, I'll just use the example. So target that with regard to, and maybe have expansive language with, if not that one, then another one in order to not forfeit the funds. But try to target your stuff with regard to species specific, because there are now herbicides that do target one, we know from DCR, targets one plant better than other plants. And so the mix and match. So you've got that opportunity then to selectively, I'm kind of looking at you, to potentially be, okay, this is going to be the focus of this. And we use the specific, specialist herbicide with regard to this one. And now we're going to go after this other one because there's a whole host of bad guys that are in our ponds. So just throw that out as an idea, because otherwise what I'm trying to avoid is the appearance of your 5-year plan and creating angst with regard to the CPC members who legitimately are trying to not allow people to come in with maintenance type requests. I'm not trying to play games. I'm trying to really articulate how I think there are enough bad guys out there that ideally can be project specific and hence meet the requirements of the CPC.
so you're suggesting that the language for, I don't know, the year 2027, we're going in specifically to target fan wort. We want to knock it out. And so we need $80,000 to do that this year. And yeah, okay.
Maybe the terms with regard to aim, but then it needs to have a dash with regard to a specific approach that you're trying to do.
So that one year we can be targeting fan wort, and the next year we can be targeting milfoil. And it's got it.
Or again, this is a problem with going through CPC. But if we receive those funds in the select board, we could do that annually and.
Well, Mark can speak. My recollection is that the select board was looking more at an aspect of we were doing a first year and not necessarily establishing themselves as an ongoing, but I look for clarification.
I don't think we were at that point on any of these.
I would agree.
But I will tell you that the budget for this year doesn't look great, so.
Yeah, and the next year, I mean, it's gonna be that way. We should be cognizant of that.
Can we go back to this? So you have $80,000 sitting allocated now that you're planning to spend hopefully in the spring. Right. And the plan is to ask for another 80,000
Yes. For the following spring.
for the following spring.
So,
But if you go back
Or later in the summer.
but if you go back to what Rob just said, you're not gonna have any results to show that it was successful when you're asking for the money, because you haven't done anything before you can ask for the money.
Hard to let.
Because perhaps the request should be set up as a 3-year hype experiment, and we're running this over 3 years. We need money for 3 years. In fact, we don't need 80,000, we need 240,000. in order to do this year on year to see if we're having an impact, because you can't eradicate it in 1 year.
Well, the request is annual. And the monies are available through CPC funding for 3 years. Because we weren't able to spend the money this year, it's good next year, or, you know, fiscal year 2026. But fiscal year 2027, we will be likely the same amount.
Because that's the second year of our experiment.
Well, it doesn't even have to be tied to an experiment. It's either like we find that this is the way to proceed or it's not. And then we still need the money, or at least a substantial portion of that, if we use herbicides.
So
We want to knock out the invasives as much as possible, and we don't see them going away anytime soon.
what we're fighting is eutrophication of the lakes. And that's because there's nutrients coming into the watershed and into the lakes. And because these invasive plants have been introduced into the lakes decades ago, and they are taking over and making use of the nutrients. And there are multiple ways to try to deal with eliminating the plants, and the ideal situation would be to try to reduce the nutrients coming in. That's difficult. Removing the plants from the lake at least can prevent them from growing and going to the bottom of the lake and adding to the sediments down there, which in the case of Mill Pond, over 20 years or so, went from a 12-foot lake to a 3-foot lake with, totally taken over by plants. So that's what we're trying to deal with. It's not expected, like I said, for the lake that, Hickory Mill Pond, they're, doing tremendous amount of work every year, every week, and it's a continuous battle. So the lake preservation plans will hopefully give us guidance on the best ways to try to deal with eutrophication. But at the moment, the expectation is that we would have to be doing some kind of treatments every year or some kind of activity every year to try to, to fight it. And we don't know whether it would be something that would, whether it be eco-harvesting, which is expensive, whether it be herbicides, which can be less expensive or equally expensive, depending on whether you're using contact or systemic herbicides, or whether it's projects to try to reduce the nutrients coming in. But the expectation is that there will be some need, and so we're putting in placeholders for them going out. And as we get closer to, each coming year, then we say, okay, what do we actually need this year? But the expectation is we'll need to be doing something.
Right, so I think that makes a lot of sense. I think a perspective might be, we hope that this will deal with the problem consistent with what you said. And if we determine that the results of our activities, we might be able to lessen the load after we get some experience and a success rate.
Yeah.
I think that's an important element for these funding sources to hear of that commitment to analyze your results. But you also have a responsibility. We don't want to surprise you.
Right.
So we're putting it in subject to determination of success and merit of effort, etc.
Right. I mean, the herbicides that you're mentioning, which can be targeted to, some for milfoil, some for fanwort, some for curly pondweed. The less expensive ones, which are, are contact herbicides, and they generally are effective that season, but then the plants come back the next season. If we do systemic herbicides, which are effective over several years, those are comparably expensive to echo harvesting.
And I agree, and yet DCR in presentations I've heard, they make recommendations with regard to working on 1/4 of a lake in 1 year and then a different section location of the lake in the subsequent year, et cetera. And that sort of approach might deal well with our challenge with regard to Lake Manawanaque / Forge Pond with regard to one community willing to do something, the other community somewhat resistant to do it, et cetera. So again,
They're not resistant, they're strapped. And regarding the 1/4, one of the herbicides is required, you can't use it on more than 1/4.
correct. So
And so that's what, she's talking about when she says, we do 1/4 of the lake each
I'm
year.
with you. And so those are all the in the weeds and the technical, you're really into educated people.
So back to Mark's question, I think you're questioning, well, like, why is it $80,000 every single year and it's not changing or going down?
No, I was more like, it was like, we were spending it. It was just a confusion on when you're spending it. What's the $6,000 for the plant survey every year? Why do you have to repeat? What are you hoping?
So, when they do the, mitigation treatments, whether it's eco harvesting or, herbicides, every year the plants grow in different, areas. There's a variation in, what kind of plant is in the different areas, how, dense they are, where they've spread. They change over time, and the plant surveys are done, before, in the spring, early summer, to see where are the plants, what do we need to do this year what are we trying to deal with? Where are?
So it's really, you're breaking out something that you're going to do the plant survey as part. You're not going to do the mitigation without doing the plant survey.
Right, so we know.
You're separating something.
We did,
But it doesn't really matter.
well, it does matter because it's an item that we have to focus on. It's just a reminder that like, it's not just whatever treatment we're doing or
You're
what
right,
process.
it's part of the
What is
mitigation
control?
process.
But why you wouldn't fund the mitigation without the plant survey?
Yeah.
Would you fund the plant survey without the mitigation?
Well,
Yes.
so
So,
the bids were put out for this year didn't include, I mean, they said, here's what, the plans were in 2024, tell us what you're gonna do this year. So, but you're right, the mid-plan survey needs to be part of the.
It's a
that year's
dependency to
mitigation
the AIM
process.
process, yeah.
Right. So it could be collapsed.
Well,
But we did do surveys this year.
we did surveys.
And no
Doing
treatments.
mitigation.
Yeah.
They exist, they
Yeah,
stand.
but Mark's asking the question of chicken and egg and, or.
We split it out because it's a line item that we think is worth focusing on. And we can do surveys like at Dolphin Pond. We should do a survey there. We may not do any mitigation, but we should definitely do a survey so we can understand where things stand, where we are. Yeah, that's why I split it out.
Question on that, John, is it also true that it's a good idea to have the survey done by a different outfit than does the mitigation?
I don't,
To avoid any conflict of interest?
we have never had a problem, for all the years we did, herbicide treatments at Long Lake. With any of the people that did, they come in, they do a spot survey, and then they do a follow-up survey, and I don't think it's in their interest to slice it one way or the other. I have no idea, but
It just, if it was, then they'd be contracted separately and it would make sense to make them
we
separate.
have done that in the past couple of years. So, I mean, because C&D doesn't do their own surveys.
So that's another reason to.
I mean, technically, like, they don't know what they're gonna do until they do the plant survey. It's the discovery phase, and it could be they do the plant survey and they say, you've had a great year, we only need to spend $30,000.
That has happened in the past.
Right,
Again,
so-
we have a bidding process. They come in with a number of $400,000 or whatever it is. And then they do a survey and say, well, you don't need to spend all that much, you know? I mean, Steve would say, well, you know, we just pocketed a lot of money, you know, if that's their inclination. You know, then yeah, sure, they do their own surveys and say, wow, you got a pocket of stuff here that you just, I mean, you got to pour all kinds of stuff in there.
And for the, even when Solitude does the herbicides, the plant surveys are done by TRC. So there is a little bit of
Separation.
separation. And, I mean, I would say any of us that look at the results of the plant surveys every year, we look at it and say, these are correct. Right? I mean, there's no question that, that they're inaccurate.
So the part of the budget that could be variable is the aim itself, because that is determined by the plant survey. I guess that would be the one reason to separate them out, because that can vary. You know, it's gonna end up being more of a range. But the plant survey is gonna be consistent every year.
So, everything for, 27, it needs to be requested, right? Everything there needs to be requested.
Yes.
Okay. So,
Can I make a different point?
Sure.
In light of Park and Rec coming to the table this year, I think you'd be wise to consider some aspect of what do they get? In the build up to the funding that they agreed to, they definitely discussed at least the aspects of how do we show the people that are now paying for the memberships, et cetera, some return on their money, different than necessarily the boats that go out the entire lake. There is that sensitivity because of Camp T that swims in the water for 2 hours, 4 days a week with regard to that beach operation as well as the membership. So I think you'd be wise to identify some aspect. I'm not saying that it's dash, but or beach restoration, but some aspect of a Park and Rec orientation with regard to something specific that's going to be tangible in your 5-year plan to demonstrate that you heard them a year ago.
So I had 2 things written down kind of along those lines. One was sand dredging. We talked about that, like they dump sand every year and now, so should that be on this plan someplace? And then, I mean, we haven't really had to deal with it, but algae bloom response, like if there was an algae bloom, how would we deal with that? Where does that come into the budget? And maybe there needs to be a contingency line item or something, like stuff is gonna come up that we're like, well, sorry, we can't deal with the algae because it's not in our budget. And that's the problem.
Silverberg made a
Yeah,
or an LLNA with regard to diplock and identifying how, you know, well, I don't want to go into what she said, it was quite critical. And it was in response to what you're saying with regard to algae blooms, and that's what made her make her comments.
right.
And
I don't know that anyone ever really identified that there was an actual algae bloom, but
There are
it's,
all the time.
yeah. But is it
It's
the
just-
bad kind of algae?
Well, it's not, you know, the green blue algae.
Right.
Except maybe in August, you know, but it's happened earlier, it happens all the time. But to respond to that is very difficult. You can't plan ahead and you
Right.
can't respond fast enough to make things okay. You know, you're not gonna treat the lake.
although, and I'm not trying to present her as an expert, but she did kind of connect that with regard to failure to have done this specific application for some periods of time. She was going back to,
Copper sulfate.
yeah, she was going back to years ago, you used to do and you don't do anymore.
I think we might have done it once, it does a really good job of killing fish, but
Yeah,
you know.
and that's why I'm saying, I'm not trying to establish her credentials with regard to what she's saying,
That's fine.
rather just to identify.
I welcome her input. She was a member of the
But
committee.
to Cammie's point, that would be the sort of thing that if we had is there research and a decision by this group of, if we're presented with this situation, do we have a trigger with regard to a response? Or in light of the concerns with regard to the Park and Rec and that sort of bad algae, experience, is there a preemptive? you know,
Right, or who is responsible? Does that become a Board of Health issue?
It does, yeah.
It is a board of
Does it?
health issue.
And then do they have to
We
treat?
addressed this 5 years ago when we got the device that was supposed to tell us ahead of time
No, not that.
when an algal bloom was going to form. And it was crap science, unfortunately, but.
Yeah,
Well,
But
just.
with all the best of intentions, we spent
The
thousands
probe
of dollars, wasn't it?
the probe was bad, but
Yeah.
the process is valid.
Well, we got results that were like this.
Yeah, the probe was bad, but the idea that we should be regularly monitoring the algae level is appropriate. And I thought the water department was monitoring that every week along with,
and I.
We were,
during
but
season, I
but
think-
the device doesn't work.
well,
Yeah, Matt confessed to that 2 years ago.
Doesn't work.
so,
So no, he doesn't do it.
okay, so I thought independent of, I thought that they were doing a different
I think all they
process
do, I think the only test that they do is basically fecal matter.
But that's Park and Rec, not Water Department, I think,
I
right?
think that's Board of Health, that.
Well, I think Park and Rec does that every week, or.
They do it every day, I think.
From the Board of Health,
In relation to
but, yeah.
Park and Rec funding for the board.
Yeah,
There's some
yeah, yeah.
relationship there. But I think this discussion is, well, the point is, I think the discussion's a good one with regard to how can you show and demonstrate responsiveness to the interests of now a funding source that just came to the table.
Right. Do we know how much they brought in for?
We don't know that yet,
For-
but we have to go discuss.
I'll tell you this, they ended up doing through their dollar per membership. I think I don't know their numbers, but it has the potential to be more than the dollars that they identified that they would contribute this year. Is it 20? No, but might it be 10 or 7,500 instead of 5 or 3?
Right,
Yeah.
right. So in 3 years, we have $30,000 that can be applied to some, significant project or something.
And that's more almost.
Well, I think we'll get into it, but I think, we've got, our, lake preservation plan, the management plan that we put together, and I think that they have a vested interest in that, and that would be more than welcome.
So
Their contribution to that.
Maybe that should be moved up for one, like.
Yeah, that
Well, the
seems
whole
really-
point is that we could accumulate some couple of years of funds from them before we even begin to approach that.
So first I want to say grateful that they did what they did. However, I want to remind everybody that the ask of them was connected, not just what they did was they executed on the beach operations memberships. That is a $125,000 pie as opposed to Camp T that is more than a $500,000 pie. And Camp T, my opinion, they did not do anything proactive or even responsive to this organization's request. And at $500,000 plus, that is a target that I throw up to Mark from a management and where you're looking for funds. I went into that with the expectation that a user that puts in numerous young youth through their paid fees to the tune of $500,000 should be contributing something. And at this point, that's a goose egg.
Mm-hmm.
And I would argue that could then forward from the management plan or some other activities that you would consider to be responsive to the Park and Rec aspect of Long Lake.
So what you're suggesting is an add-on fee to Camp T rates that,
Yeah, it wasn't.
$3 a week to go to the Long Lake Preservation Fund because your kids are peeing in the lake
Yeah.
for 2 hours every day. That's how my kids who worked at Camp T described it. It's like pee.
But yes, and that's all.
yeah.
I mean, I think Karen was a significant contributor
Yeah.
to the concept that, came into this. So we shouldn't let that off the table and just accept the evidence that are identified here, because I think there's another financial component as we transition to the new model of select board, conscom, water, figure out this.
Well, it seems to me that the Long Lake Preservation Plan in 2029 would give us 3 years of accumulation of that budget, and that would be something we'd certainly point to. So, I mean, you raised the question, do we want to move it up a year?
And move it up to 27.
Yeah. I
Bring it
think
up
we
to
should
27?
Do those two in 27 and do the other two in 29.
So we'd have 25 and,
question of where all this money's come from.
Well, so I think I think we would.
One of the things I was looking at, one of the things we should all look at is the tally at the end of each year.
right, you're trying to, it looks like you tried to do a good job of keeping it relatively even.
Moving things around, yeah.
Yeah.
But
But we're saying lake preservation plan for Long Lake would be coming out of the Long Lake
Doesn't have.
Park and Rec.
It doesn't have to.
No, we're saying, we're just, because there's that Park and Rec.
I understand, but.
It doesn't have to, no, but we want to point to something that we're doing on behalf of the lake that Park and Rec could be proud of
Right,
contributing to.
well, I mean, we could do dash on the waterfront.
Right, or we could dredge the sand and make the lake deeper.
We'll have a permit by June,
they
right?
have the permit by.
Hmm?
The long dock is now 4.5 feet.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's just.
And is that water level, do you think it's because of reduced water level or because of increased sand, John?
Well, it's not, the water level has been high this year.
Right, so it's the sand, yeah.
Really?
It's the, dumping truckloads of sand.
Ours is low.
Well, ours is seasonally low, but it's not as low as it has been.
Yeah, they have no outflow. I think there's a beaver dam.
Yeah.
Blocking total outflow. In fact, you went to the park. Did you happen to notice if there was a beaver dam at the outlet, essentially before Scouts Bridge?
Yeah, I was out there the other day.
There is a dam.
Oh, yeah, double dam.
But I think there's two.
Double dam.
Oh, it's not, there's
Well, there's lodges.
there's beaver deceivers.
Is it? Yes,
And then there's a dam,
well, no.
because there's already two.
There's a lake leveler that goes over one dam, and there's a lake level that goes over a second dam.
Yes,
That's all.
and no other dam.
But neither one of those lake levelers is active because the water level is below the lake level. So we just have seepage through the dams. So,
Yeah.
But that's typical this time of year.
All right, so
Yeah,
there was a
my neighbor
proposal to
Dr. Bill
move,
was telling me that there's a whole other dam that the beavers built, but I get that they're.
I haven't seen that.
I mean, it's good, keep it going.
Yeah, all right, so there's a
It's
proposal to
8:30.
move the
Go.
lake preservation plan for Long Lake up to 27 is what Mark is suggesting.
I think so.
And from a time management, do you consider enough for today and just put on round 2 your next meeting? With regard to beat up years 28 and 29.
Yes, I think that's a good suggestion.
You know what?
Work on good progress tonight. And work on years 28 through 29, 30, don't spend, spend the same amount of time then looking at 28, 29, 30 in your next meeting.
Yeah, let's,
September.
I think that's a good thing. It's 8:30 already. We didn't have Chuck here yelling.
Yeah, and I think when you look at all the preservation plans, that money scattered over time. Maybe in the meantime, if we could talk about how to possibly make a comprehensive plan for all the lakes. I know that was talked about.
Right.
As, maybe
Maybe it's more cost effective to do it all.
it's more cost effective.
Oh, you mean doing them at the same time?
Yeah,
Yeah, and getting
I don't
direction.
think that there's any edge to anybody on that. No engineering firm can do 3 or 4 lakes simultaneously. And each one is very specific
yeah, okay.
and very definite, and you don't get a bargain with 3.
No.
You just don't.
Unless the bargain is like, buy in bulk, we'll do 3 projects for a cheaper price.
Well, again, I
mean,
just don't think that this is applicable. It's not like a basket of fruit. You're gonna be meeting with people, you're gonna be discussing possibilities, you're gonna be considering what needs to happen here. And it's not something that runs in 3 different locations simultaneously.
Right, I get that. I don't know, I'm selling, I sell, that's what I do. I would give you a discount if you bought 3. I don't know, Mark, if you have, yeah.
Sales.
Yeah, but TRC, they're in sales too, so.
Only if I was looking at all the details.
Well, you might save, if you're, in business too, you might be wanting to come and do a different pond every year, and there's security in that for
Right,
the
we
vendors
could
or whoever.
contract for it and not pay, I don't know, there might be something. Anyways, okay, I think
I agree with John, the lakes are very different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the consulting business, I mean, I did this for years, 30, 40 years. And so you get nailed as a consulting business because your rate, whatever you say your rate is, the government will tell you they want their most favored customer rate. Sure. And so your rates have to be your rates and they have to be fixed. Because if they aren't, these government customers will badger you down and you end up losing money.
Yeah.
Oh, because you paid someone else at
Yeah,
a rate.
if you give a discount to this guy, you end up having to give it to that guy.
Yeah.
And the next and the next. And you just can't do it. You have to raise the rates by inflation every year. If you miss a year, you can't double it the following year. You know,
Yeah.
nobody will stand for that. So anyway, there was just me and a couple of other guys. So we were a
Yeah.
small outfit. Maybe the bigger outfits can do that, but I don't think so.
Yeah, right, probably not. All right, anyways, I agree with Rob's suggestion that we continue this in our next meeting.
Well, I appreciate everyone's input. I think this has been very productive.
Yeah, right. It's a beautiful, piece. It's put together and really readable.
Well,
Appreciate it.
legibility has been something I've really been struggling with, and I'm still not pleased. It's all microscopic. But of course, the moment you increase the fund, you know, it doesn't fit in the space it's allocated, so.
Yeah.
Light years different than it was in the applicant.
Yeah.
I mean, there was
Yes,
continued the progress that was made last year.
Well, and I'll ask a question, as we wrap up here, of Mark. Should there be some cap, some limit on the total salary? Should there, I mean, at this point in time, the water commissioners have committed to, somewhere in the vicinity of just over $100,000 from them to address, the common, tasks across the top and activities that surround Spectacle Pond. And their expectation is that we'll have something, comparable from other sources. And is it unreasonable to assume that we could budget things at $260,000 or $280,000 or $310,000 annually?
So I think, well, I'll throw this over a bit, but you're gonna have to worry about the CPC well running dry on a lot of these things from the start, because the town coming up with, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars right off the bat is not likely to happen.
Mhm.
I think you have a reasonable chance of getting the same budget or slightly more than you did last year from the town, but not, you know, we're not going orders of magnitude at a time. You're gonna have, I mean, the fact that you got a line item is huge. Because then you can always ask for a larger line item, but you're gonna have to ask for, you know, slow increments to ramp that up.
Larger, not larger.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, again, this is why I'm putting it out there, because, you know, we need the reality check too.
So I'd encourage you to put that as an agenda item and that kind of looking to you. I know, I forget whether I spoke before you guys or you spoke before I did, but I'm coming through with CPC from an LCC standpoint, looking for terrestrial invasive woods. And I was well received with regard to that approach. And the problem is significant, no more than in the water. And yeah, my understanding, effectively the line item budget buried within Conscom is like $5,000, which I'm part of a little breakout group. And I just shut the conversation down, saying there's no sense in even talking about this. You have your $300 to $750 sites that you're doing, and why spend our time theoretically talking about all the problems that we have on the hundreds of acres of town property that's being consumed, just like the water invasives are. It's deteriorating. It's going, and therefore I'm trying to bring to CPC an aspect of looking for that same pot of money that you folks are tapping into with regard to open space. So just be aware, and I would encourage you to consider an agenda item and have some consideration of discussion of. I think it's a very good question, John, but I just want to bring out, there's competitors, you know, in the wings with regard to that same pot of money.
Sure.
To Mark's point.
I think it's hard to ask CPC over and over again for the same, regardless of what you call it, aim or error or whatever, right? At a certain point, it becomes maintenance, and they, you know, and I would hope that CPC comes up with a plan and says, we're gonna fund this for 3 years and we're cutting you off, or 2 years, or 5 years, or 10 years, or we're good forever, right? But, you know, and they don't still say, no, we're not doing it anymore, and then they're scrambling, right? But
Yeah, I think we haven't, up until now, we haven't really had situations where we had multiple petitioners. We've had times where there wasn't enough money to give one big project what they wanted, but there's been a lot of town initiated projects that were well managed from the town hall end of things, and people were really sensitive about timing and things like that, and turn taking, and that's been true for a long time, but we've never had multiple people come at once, and I think that's partly due to what I signaled there, that the good management and the partnership with town hall, but I think it's also that we haven't had a season of a flurry of projects for the longest time, and very few private people coming as well, or interest groups. And so I think that a factor that I'm really sad about for this committee is that for the longest time we had a really great partner in the water department, and we got a lot of in-kind services, and we had projects that were really pushed along generously through their help. And then we've had to go through a little interim period here that has us wondering, you know, and thank God that we do have that line item, because that was the thing that worried me the greatest about CPC funding, was that we helped out in an emergency situation. That was sort of a one-time thing, and then everybody scrambled on this committee to say, well, how are we going to make the next year work? And it worked. But then, to Mark's point, it's like we do need to be ready to pivot when times are hard on the
CPC is
town.
gonna say that this is maintenance and not.
Yeah.
But, and I don't think we out it as a game, but I think Mark's right too, that it's the same amount every year. And then there's no obligation to fund it. And then if a third party came in, or a second party, as it were, and said, hey, we have this great project, we'd say, well, you know, let's split it. You guys are going to get less because, you know,
I don't want to elongate this, but I do want to make the point, and Mark, select board might be wise to listen in if you haven't heard the CPC discussion. There was a tail end of their last meeting in which numerous CPC members were discussing how effectively they, because of the lack of line items existing in the town budget, my recollections, this is how it went, is the pressure is being placed upon them to become, you know, the funding source that really isn't appropriate on an annual basis. So this is, as I've asked as a citizen for the select board to hold public hearings with regard to the budget process and been rebuffed. This is the sort of thing that I heard at the CPC meeting, and I thought it was very, very valid. And it does go to contention, but it also goes to, if the needs of the various, you know, parties, they should be able to air what their needs are and try to find, much like we started off the meeting with, the select board will determine between the water department and, you know, other sources as to where it is. But it shouldn't necessarily just be CPC is the end all, and you're not saying that it is, and I think that's great. We're being very open-ended, but I think that what I heard was some CPC members speaking with regard to concerns that they have as to the lack of line items and budgets, and so there needs to be some airing, I would argue, between CPC and select board to discuss the aspects of that as to who should be holding what and how does it all work out on behalf of our residents.
So whatever budget we get, I'd like a minute of airtime to talk about how we spend it. We all know that fertilizing the lawn makes an absolutely giant difference in the vigor of what grows there. The amount of phosphorus in Forge Pond is way, way higher than it ought to be. Nutrients in lakes are categorized. They get 3 levels: an appropriate amount, another level that's the maximum that can possibly be accepted, and another level that's critical. I don't remember the numbers, but the critical level was exceeded a long time ago in Forge Pond. The amount of phosphorus in the lake is double or triple that critical number. Yeah. And the lawsuit by the Conservation Law Foundation alleges that the bottling plant is dumping prodigious amounts of phosphorus into the Beaver Brook.
No, it's the Reedy Meadow or.
But doesn't that flow into Mill Pond, which flows into
Which then goes into
Beaver
Beaver
Brook?
Brook.
Yeah, which goes into Lake Fork.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Maybe there'll be a really great lawsuit and the town will get money out of it,
well, maybe,
I mean-
maybe, but my point is
or settlement.
that our ability to get insight into that, our avenue for insight into that is the lake preservation plan. So, you know, we've talked about advancing it. I advocate advancing that with whatever money we can get. Now, at the same time, we've got to do something about the weeds. So I'm not saying we should do nothing and just spend our money on consultants doing lake preservation plans. But that lake preservation plan is our only way to get some handle on what are our options and what can we do. The GLM says that if you've got a big a watershed area that's more than 10 times the lake area, and this one is 70 times, but a lot more than 10 times, it says lake management for that isn't about doing stuff in the lake. It's about regulatory procedures, lawsuits, getting government grants to help the farms put hay bales around their fields. It's outside stuff
Right.
that isn't in the lake. It's all these other things. We need to know about that because that's the stuff we should be doing.
Yeah.
That's what's going to make the
And
difference.
is that part of what goes into like, they'll look at like, where's the phosphorus coming from? They'll try to identify.
Yeah, we need to find that
Yeah,
out.
right.
Well, it sounds like it's going from the bottling plant, but that could be wrong. It might be that the phosphorus they're putting in is all dissipated by the time it's gone all the way through the wetland to Forge Pond. So
We do have fields, farm fields, within 50 yards of the lake.
we do. And that could be significant. So anyway.
Right, so we could keep throwing money at our mitigation efforts, but until we really know what's going on and how to solve for this, like in a more systemic way, all we're doing is, I don't know, cutting the lawn.
Well,
basically.
you know, the optics are good that we're doing something.
Yeah.
Right? That's our constituents want us to do something. So we need to do something about the weeds.
But it's a finger in the dike, you know?
Yeah,
It's just-
that's right.
It's not really solving things, it's just accommodating. And we need to do that.
The lake preservation plan, I just want to emphasize that. So that's all I got to say.
So
Good one.
leveraging off that, there's one other thing that I think we're kind of missing in our whole approach is that we're all volunteers, we're laymen. We don't have anybody that's continuously involved with us, that's a professional in this area that could be giving us advice and guidance. And the lake preservation plans are a way to address that and to get that kind of information. But I think if we had some way to have continuous professional guidance, that would be the best.
And maybe that will come out of a lake preservation plan. I'll be like, here's what you guys need.
Yeah, well, and that may be something that we need to, as we learn more, bake into our 5-year plans.
So,
It-
oh, sorry.
Well, I was just saying, it seemed to me like CPC, a lake preservation plan would fall under CPC funding, right?
I think so too, but
Yeah,
why, if the lake preservation plans are so important, why aren't you spending all the money on that rather than the hazard mitigation? Right, is it because the hazard mitigation is just throwing more money at a problem that's gonna continue until you know what's actually causing it? So why not? I mean, what happens if you don't spend any money on herbicides for another year and instead, delay the herbicides for next, take the money you have for herbicides and spend it now. Don't ask for more money for herbicides until you have the plans.
Well,
What's the disadvantage?
I'm not sure if this is the right answer historically for the committee, but I think that when we made the 5-year plan, we sort of said, well, each pond needs to be looked at carefully. And I think it's overdue. Some of them have never had it. Most of them have, I think, have never had
Only
it.
special funds handle.
So we're trying to, in 10 years, make up for all that.
Right.
So maybe it's a little rich. I don't know.
No, I'm saying why not front load the plans rather than the mitigation?
right, skip
I-
mitigation for a year while we get a plan, basically. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm
That's worthy.
kind of saying the flip of it.
Worth a figure that,
Yeah.
which we've run out of time for tonight, but. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's a good place to stop, and we can all think about that. What do you think, John?
What's another good date for you guys for next month?
A date.
I'm busy.
That we're sure of.
It is Wednesday.
Well, good thing we're ending because my phone's about to die.
Oh,
Do we want to stick to Wednesday?
Wednesday is working,
Sure.
working well.
When are budgets due?
They'll be in November or December.
Okay,
So I think, yeah, by next time, we need to agree on what it is we need to be requesting. And then we'll have to have enough time to
Right.
spread those out about, allocate, where do we expect this and this and this to come from? So that we can then prepare for the individual requests for the different groups by November.
Let's make it early. How about the 8th?
Yeah.
For me.
It's 4 weeks from now.
I'm gonna be out of the country for a couple of weeks, so we probably shouldn't try to accommodate me.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll be in Paris that day.
well, la-di-da, ooh la la.
This would be,
La, la,
you're not
indeed.
doing anything at 12:30 PM, I
Yes,
mean, AM, right?
Yeah.
That's
The Zoom.
What they say,
The Olympics, right?
right? That's
6
right.
hours, Steve, come on.
So 2026 is set, 27 is when we can start playing. And
That's true.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Right. So take a look at your paperwork, mess with it if you like, and,
October 8th.
Okay.
and even if you'd like, to share ideas via email between now and then,
Well, I, that, somebody who is good at keeping this up to date, revise what we're working with tonight
I'm
to.
on that.
Okay, thank you.
And yeah, maybe we'll have an opportunity to get in the library between now and then too.
Yeah,
Chuck's not here, but
Chuck's not here.
so you'll
I'll be the stand-in.
Oh, thanks, Leon.
Proposal to adjourn. Oh, sorry.
No, real quick, you had alternate, in your minutes.
I was waiting for the minutes to be, completed and accepted today, and I'll have those for you tomorrow.
Okay,
With a
so
letter.
I'll put it on the agenda
Requesting
for.
apologies to us.
And
Thank you for-
we already voted.
Oh, yeah, it just has to be in the minutes and then, the minutes are accepted and everything else, so it's just.
It has to-
document.
We have to have the documentation so that we can,
Oh,
so.
when do you think that
I'll check on that with,
when do we think that the lake preservation plan for Spec Pond will come into play? Because they're gonna have recommendations for what to do, and that may impact budget for
that
27
is
too.
possible.
So
In discussion,
ideally, if that would happen before, do you think it will happen before October 8th?
yeah, I'll
Okay.
get that done. Yeah.
Because maybe that will inform what we do here. Yeah.
Sure. Well,
All right.
thank you all for
Maybe
embracing
make
this.
recommendations on what to do based on the plan. Yeah.
It turns out I've been talking with Carl Nielsen from TRC, who is developing the plan and has already recommended herbicide treatment and is aware of the invasives and get together. But we still need to know if we paid him yet, because I don't have that plan in my hand, just conversations.
The motion, was it seconded?
Okay. All right.
All
Any
in favor?
objections? Any reservations?
Yeah.
Any holdouts? It's unanimous, people. Thank you all very much.
Hit the button,